and more people every year because Congress won't fix it. And Congress won't fix it because of the implications of the federal budget deficit. That's what the alternative minimum tax is.
I just wanted to be clear what that was. I wasn't sure what that was.
Yep.
Any other board members have questions?
Right now?
Okay. Does the Finance Committee, Abby,
Hi, the Finance Committee met last week and we voted to support this. During the last 4 or 5 days, while we still felt it was a more than worthwhile thing to pursue, we had some questions and we had some concerns. And we've asked the Board of Assessors some questions, and we've done various bits of research on our own. Tonight we voted to see if we wanted to revisit, not necessarily to vote it down, but to revisit it. And the vote was 3-3, hence it failed, so we did not revisit our vote. We do feel that it is something this town should seriously consider.
So to answer your question, Mr. Messere, the last vote that was taken was to support the implementation of a split tax rate. Motion to reconsider did not pass. So basically the Finance Committee supported this in concept.
thank you.
Mr. Messere, you have a count on the vote that was taken that night?
The night that we met a couple weeks ago.
You're referring to the Finance Committee meeting? I believe that was 6-0 at that time. It was unanimous 6-0.
Can I ask a question on that?
Yes, Mr. Vino.
Yes, if I could ask a question. So I just want to be clear now. The Finance Committee voted tonight not to reconsider it?
Correct.
Okay, in the information I received last week, I'm not sitting here saying it's true, is that the fact gave the Finance Committee wrong information, and that's what they voted on. So what you're saying is, if in fact that happened, the Finance Committee tonight said they don't want to reconsider it? Did that not happen? I was told that happened.
Don, do you want?
Can I speak from here? Do I have the floor?
No, well,
Other than the people at home won't be able to hear
yeah.
from.
Please.
Finance Committee was not given incorrect information. The reason that the Finance Committee was taking it up again tonight was to have some further discussion of it. Some of us wanted some more information about the impact on the small businesses, and what impact this proposal would have. We looked at average numbers, mean, and we wanted to look at median numbers. We wanted to get some more texture to the impact of spreading this classification around. But there was no misinformation given to us. It was this, and we thought it'd be helpful to have more information. Mike did give us some more information on medians, as we saw tonight, and we just haven't had the time to digest it. I'm not sure that our vote would change. Just we acted at a meeting and had a week to kind of think about it and ask more questions, and then this meeting is now. That's what we wanted to reconsider. Wasn't that
Okay.
We felt we got incorrect information, or that we were necessarily going to change the vote. We're just looking for more information.
If I may, Mr. Chair, then I do apologize, because that's not the information I was given last week, so I do apologize for that.
Okay, are there any more questions for the Finance Committee from the board before we open it up to the public? No more questions for the Finance Committee? Okay, at this point, I'll open the hearing up to the public. Raise your hand. To be recognized, try to limit your discussion to 2 minutes so that everybody that wants to speak will have an opportunity to speak. Mr. Diamond.
They have to identify themselves. She doesn't know who they are.
What?
They have to identify themselves. She doesn't know who they are.
Please identify yourself when you...
My name is Larry Diamond. Been a resident from North Reading for 40 years. I own a home in the village of Northridge, the over 55, which has no kids in school. I also own a small business, accounting practice, tax preparation, etc., and an office condominium located on Route 28. I have always been in support of every override that ever came down the line, because I've always been in support of schools. I go back to the time that I served on the school building committee that rebuilt the high school. Spent 4 years there. And I can tell you, as members of the school building committee, we sought and obtained the support of the business community to get that override passed. They were there when we needed them, and they helped us greatly. I also was president of the Athletic Boosters for a number of years. And as such, we were always, like gypsies, seeking funds and support from the business community. And consistently, we received that support from them, from whether it be the booster bags or building sheds at the fields or any, and there were so many of things that we sought their support for, and we received it. And as a commissioner on the Hillview Commission, I can tell you from my observations the huge amount of support that has been received by the Ipswich River Park, what we consider our stepchild. Not redheaded, Rita, but stepchild. My point is that when I mentioned business community, and it is just that. I'm not interested in the regionalization. I'm interested in North Reading. Business community, those two words go together in this town. The businesses have been a strong part of the fabric of this town. And any matching or disproportionate allocation of real estate taxes is unjust. The businesses do not send any kids to school. 60% of the budget is for the schools. I could ask that you reduce the taxes. I could ask, as a resident of Northridge, that you reduce my taxes over there, but it's ludicrous. I just want to be fair, and I think as you people need to recognize the business community as real hard citizens and supporters in this town. And I thank you for your time.
Mr. Norton?
I'm sorry, can we just answer his question? He did have a question about the 2008.
All right, sure, and then Mr.
Quickly,
Norton.
Adam, can you give him his answer? Sorry, his name again was?
Mr. Diamond.
Mr. Diamond, we have an answer
Mr.
to your
Diamond,
question.
yeah, I went on Google while you were talking. It says here that additional property tax deduction for non-itemizers, which is what you're talking about, for 2008 only. There's a one-time standard deduction increase for homeowners, 500 for single, 5,000 for a married couple.
That's good.
So, just thought I'd give us some questions.
Thank you.
Mr. Norton.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. John Norton. I'm here not only as a citizen, but I'm here at the request of the Coda family. Mr. Coda is unable to attend tonight, Coda Funeral Homes, due to a recent serious operation. I have some items that I would like to present, and I'm speaking in part for him and in part for myself, because both of us are adamantly against this dual classification. As has been pointed out here, a lot of the business operations here in town are what we classify, quote, unquote, mom and pop operations. They probably represent the largest portion of the commercial tax rate. You have very few large operations here, Teradyne, Shaw, Stop and Shop, Walmart, to name a few. Keep in mind that a lot of the small commercial operators here are also residential community members. They own the businesses, they live here in town. A lot of these people have put their heart and soul into their business operations. They've expanded. A lot of new Commercial growth has taken place here. Look out on Route 28, Route 62. Everybody, for the most part, tries to keep their properties up, and as Mr. Diamond has pointed out, they are heavily involved in charitable contributions and other in-kind contributions to the community. I'd like to take exception to what the FAC has presented here tonight. When they list in that block commercial base, I would like to know, when they looked around at the communities of North Andover, Lynn, Wakefield, and Haverhill, where they saw small commercial tax bases. If I drive through those communities, and I drive through them quite frequently, to me, they have far larger commercial tax bases than we do. All you have to do is drive up and down 114 and 125 in North Andover. Go out on Route 1 in Linfield. I think North Reading would be thrilled to have half of that large commercial tax base. And I'm talking large. I'm not talking the mom and pop operations. So I think that colored in block under the commercial tax base block, I have a real problem with that. Let's compare apples to apples and not apples to oranges. I also believe that if you are going to do this dual tax rate once, it's like any other tax. It's like the Commonwealth back in the 80s said we need to increase our revenue. So we're going to implement an income tax, which, quote, was supposed to be temporary, which, as we know, question 1 just shot it down, but it was supposed to be temporary. You implement a dual tax rate now, a dual tax rate, from what I can see with taxes, is going to be forever. And it may look small now by presentation, but over the years it's going to increase. And again, you're going to hit the small business operator, which is totally not fair. You're also going to, and as has been pointed out, and rightfully so, we are heading into a worsening economy. I don't believe this is the year to implement a dual tax rate. We have some of our business operators that are probably teetering on insolvency, financial insolvency. Do we as a community want to put more people on unemployment because these people also employ people? Do we want to have more people on the unemployment lines? And do we want to have more vacant storefronts? As a community member, I don't believe so. I don't believe that's what this community truly wants. If that's what you want, then implement the dual tax rate. I am 100% opposed to this. The Coda family is 100% opposed to this. And I would strongly urge the Board of Selectmen to keep the status quo and not implement a dual tax rate. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Gentleman in the center. You have a question?
I have a question for Mr. Kirby and Mr. Prisco.
Hold just a second to answer a question.
I believe you mentioned it in your presentation, but figures you have concerning commercial tax base in other communities, where was that obtained from?
That was obtained from the Mass Department of Revenue, and it looks at basically the relative proportion of assessed values in the various communities. It doesn't distinguish between, are there a bunch of pterodines or are there a bunch of small, that part is true. It was intended to, and I believe accurately does, represent the effects of that any community can realize in terms of the leveraging of what amount of shifts are basically, what the result of shifts are for each 1% versus in different communities based on the size of, based on the relative size of their tax base.
Thank you.
Sorry, the next one would be another one.
Name and address, please.
John Pasquale, 1080 Union Drive. That's John Pasquale Jr., by the way.
Yes.
And a couple of common things I've heard from a few people here. I'm a local resident, local taxpayer for commercial, and I've also rented. Chart here, graphs I've looked at, and your blue areas are fine, but you can really drive through a lot of these areas, like Mr. Norton mentioned. You have a lot larger, the IBMs, Kodak, large companies like that are gonna contribute